Jews feed a lot like mold. So let's say I'm an amoeba. Let's go to the microscopic level. Let's say I'm an amoeba, and let's say that I saw you as something full of resources that I could take for my own good. So what would I go? I would consume you and then digest you. Now, that's not how mold works. What mold does is says, wow, that's a giant pile of food and energy and stuff we can get right there. Let's emit exotoxins, which is why mold is so dangerous. It will break down chemically and somatically, break down the fabric that makes up your organism. It'll break down, if you're a plant, the cell walls. If you're not a plant, if you're an animal, bacterium or something that penetrates the cell membranes and begins digesting you. Without the mold ever touching you or physically attacking you, you die and are decomposed and atomized into consumable units for the mold. And that's the way that Jewish international banking works. Healthy societies work like America under Jefferson or Jackson or George Washington will shut down and destroy these attacks on the country's economic base or resource base. The Jews sent many people to try and kill Jefferson and Jackson. They tried to kill Jackson 3 or 4 times. Lincoln started printing his own greenbacks or his own fiat currency that wasn't controlled by Jews. They sent a Rothschild agent, John Wilkes Booth, a Jew, to kill him. And in the media and in the movies, they say John Wilkes Booth was some sort of Southern nationalist or whatever. It's like when they tried to kill Kennedy. They had the whole story lined up for days in advance. They were talking about right-wing extremism or in the South. And Jack Rubenstein, who they called Ruby, when Oswald was dumb and got caught and going from an act of God, I'd say, got caught going into the movie theater, and they made sure to print his name as Jack Ruby and not Rubenstein, made sure he died before we could talk. Look it up, John Wilkes Booth was Jewish. The Harvey Oswald hung out with no one but Jews.
And it's a French film, and it's called Irreversible. Very violent movie, very extreme in some of the sex scenes and the rape scenes and such, but it's not just smut for the point of smut. The movie is probably one of the top critiques of the sexual revolution on film I've ever seen. You know, just to quickly run through what I saw that I thought was a critique was that the way they portray homosexuality is as a nihilistic, scary. It's used. Homosexual activity is used as a horror, like part of a horror. It's like a horror device in the movie where you have a fag, like this guy's going in there because a fag raped his wife and beat her to death. And this guy goes into a nightclub called The Rectum. It's a gay club. And he goes in there, and as soon as he walks in, fags are like fisting each other and violent anal sex and torturing each other. They have themselves tied up and they're torturing each other. And there's a guy who comes up, he's like, please fist me. I want you to fist me. And the guy is like so disgusted by it that he takes a fucking he finds the guy that raped his wife, right? Who's a fag. So here's some context on that. So then later in the movie, it shows that the guy that is one of the top guys in this gay nightclub, one of the top queers, actually found his wife in an alleyway and sodomized her and then beat her. And while he was saying that, while he's beating her, he's saying, you know, such a beautiful girl like you shouldn't even be alive. Beautiful women like you disgust me. Now I'm going to rape you in the ass like a faggot. He fucking uses those words. And that kind of shows the homosexual impulse to defile beautiful things, which is quite insidious because that impulse is hidden by the fact that Jews have propelled homosexuals to basically be gatekeepers in our arts, in our theater, and in our movies.
Yeah.
Homosexuals are wildly disproportionately represented. How can you possibly have individuals that embody a rejection of order, beauty, and nature as your cultural gatekeepers unless you yourself want your culture to be against order, beauty, and nature? And that is the situation we're in now.
Leon Trotsky, whose real name was Lebya Davidovich Bronstein, said, "We must turn Russia into a desert populated by white Negroes, upon whom we shall impose a tyranny such as the most terrible Eastern despots never dreamt of. The only difference is that this will be a left-wing tyranny, not a right-wing tyranny. It will be a red tyranny and not a white one. We mean the word red literally, because we shall shed such floods of blood as will make all the human losses suffered in the capitalist wars quake and pale by comparison. The biggest bankers across the ocean will work in the closest possible contact with us. If we win the revolution, we shall establish the power of Zionism upon the wreckage of the revolution's funeral, and we shall become a power before which the whole world will sink to its knees. We shall show what real power is, by means of terror and bloodbaths. We shall reduce the Russian intelligentsia to a state of complete stupefaction and idiocy, and to an animal existence. At the moment, our young men in their leather jackets, who are the sons of watchmakers from Odessa, Orsha, Gomel, and Venezia, know how to hate everything Russian. What pleasure they take in physically destroying the Russian intelligentsia, officers, academics, and writers.